Francis Joseph.
Well, all right. Wendell and Yankee back here with you. Some more first round draft analysis from New York City. How's it look outside there, Yankee? How's New York City? Is it snowing tonight?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I'm not in New York City, but
right.
it's good to be back regardless.
Cool. Hey, why is your handle Yankee?
I'm a Yankees fan, so
you're a Yankees fan.
Yeah. Well, on the old form, it was Yankee Kane, and then I went to FSU, so I dropped the.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Goddamn, I hate the Yankees. Goddamn, I hate the Yankees.
Yeah. That comes with the territory.
God. Sorry. I'll calm down. I'll calm down. So, anyway, yeah. Well, I especially hate the Yankees because I'm an old Atlanta Braves fan. And,
yeah.
The great...
Especially in the 90s, it was...
great Mark Wohlers implosion.
Yeah.
I was working late. I was so nervous I couldn't even watch it on TV, so I was working late listening to it on the radio, and I heard the infamous Mark Wohlers explosion, and that just... I left a broken man.
Yeah.
So, never forget. So, so let's move on. Come on, dog. Get your mind up. Get out of the gutter. Come on. Pick yourself up. So, the 1-5 pick this year, we just talked about. Key West has been trading up into the first round like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They've been. The weird thing is, this is what gets me, Yank. Key West has got loads of talent in the farm system, and they're trading it for draft picks.
Yeah.
Is that just resetting the rebuild window later?
Well, I've had a lot of experience with that. Sometimes you just, this draft pool I think was a lot better than normal, so he might just be moving. This upcoming pick I don't really agree with, but
the Steven Adams pick.
Yeah, just what he gave up, but
okay,
we'll get to that in a second. But maybe he's trying to find, I guess, what works for his system. Obviously he still got a really good shortstop, a really good starting pitcher in this draft. So other stuff, but I don't know. Sometimes you do have to just rework your system, or even delay your window if it's like. I've done it in the past where it's, I have a couple guys coming up who are really good, but the rest of my prospects flamed out, and I can have these two guys doing good, but it all it does is put me at a instead of 16th in the league, I'm 12th in the league. So he might be going for a big Chicago Cubs style, rebuild, or like a classic Yankee rebuild,
So basically, what he could be doing is giving up basically his the farm system, the guys who are just about ready to. Let me turn my. Oh man, I'm sorry about that. That's let me just turn that off. Okay, my furnace kicked in, and it is noisy as crap. So, do you see him? Maybe he's just creating a new future, a new nucleus of the Key West Pirates around these first-round picks: Roberto Roca, Steven Adams, and then Ray Chapman. So,
yeah, I don't know his system too well. I know he has. Let me look at the WBL top prospects and see who's on there. I know it's not a perfect representation, but he doesn't really have. I'm just going down the list. His top prospects are kind of. They're not really on this top 100. His highest prospect is 31 in the league, not counting the last set of draft picks, which is when he started acquiring talent anyways. So, that might be a little inaccurate, but it just depends on his farm system. You want to kind of hit the timing window all at the same time when, you have 8 guys that are all kind of hitting ARB within a couple of years of each other, all, instead of having to pay a couple of guys $20 million a year, and then you can't grab free agents because you can't sign them long-term contracts, so you have other guys coming up. It's just you kind of want them all in the same 2-3 year.
I think you're talking about Moscow. You're talking about Moscow right now, and man,
I thought I was talking about Key West.
That's some tough talk, man. That's some tough talk. So what did Key West give up to draft Steven Adams?
So they moved up 2 picks. They traded away the 7th This is the 5th pick, and they also gave up a AAA starting pitcher by the name of Francis Joseph,
wow. So
who is now, of course, with Berlin.
2 spots. They traded up 2 spots. They traded Francis Joseph to get, wow.
Yeah, and so, I mean, looking at his page, his intangibles are off the, out of the building, off the roof, whatever. Really good intangibles. Pretty good 55 stuff, 50 movement, and then 60 control potential. He's already pretty much hit his ceiling, which is no surprise given his intangibles anyways. His changeup actually has the potential to hit 70, which would be one of the better changeups in the league. And he's got 70 stamina, so he's going to hang in there for a while. And he actually did have a coffee cup this year, probably in September. He started 3 games, 115 ERA plus. So
Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
that is a very good sign.
That's a
and
real,
he had
3.66 ERA and a 117 whip. Nice.
Yeah, and I mean he had a good year in AAA too to reinforce. It wasn't a fluke by any means. So I think Mike actually got a really good deal here because
Berlin picked up a fine prospect. Yeah,
and I think the drop off between Gooks' pick and Mike's pick is not that like there's not that big of a difference. So Mike got 2 good pitchers for the price of 1, I think here.
Awesome. But Guksta obviously wanted Adams badly.
Definitely.
Why else would you do this, man? He had to have wanted Adams really bad. So
yeah, well, it's deserved, I think. He's got pretty good intangibles. He's got 70 stamina, 65 stuff potential, 55 movement, 65 control. So a better pitcher than Joseph, and a better pitcher than the guy that Mike picked up at number 7 as well.
Right.
Had some pretty good college stats. I think he's a good pitcher.
Stats. Yeah.
I think he's a good pitcher, and he's already, like, his current is 40, 35, so he can't fall off too much.
That's
so
true.
I think he's going to be a pretty good starter.
So he's 22, so he probably needs a couple of years in the farm to work on that, work on all those.
Yeah.
Especially.
Well, that's an interesting kind of debate what to do out of the feeder systems. Like, someone comes out 22 years old, but they've already pitched so well at the college level. How does that compare to the UBLA, the UBLAA? Is it that you can just throw these guys immediately in AA and
what would you do with
just as good as impact?
WWYD. What would Yankee do? Straight to AA?
I think until I determine like what works best, I would probably just throw him in A. But it might be that the way to do it for like out of college guys with this good of numbers from now on is throw them in AA, see what works for them. And I mean that's not far off the MLB like real life way of doing things either. So I don't know. I mean Gooksta might be throwing this guy in AA right away, or he could throw him in single A. I think to be safe, throw him in A, and if he's balling out, then you can promote him mid-season. Yeah. No problem, and probably see him in a couple of years.
It's OSA rates his stuff at 40, but he's got already a couple of 45 rated pitches plus a 40 curveball, so his stuff is really better than 40 at this point. It's
right.
He's got at least AA type stuff.
Yeah.
That control, sometimes the control takes a long time to come in for some guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, to be safe, I'd say throw him an A. But I think you wouldn't really lose one way or the other in A or AA. I mean, I think we'll eventually all determine kind of what works for these feeder league guys. I mean, the high school guys, that's easy. Throw them in A. But the college guys, it's a little bit more of a fine line. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, ultimately, he's good. I just think, we can get to Mike's guy in a second here if you want to skip over the 6th pick for a second. But I think what Gooksta gave up to get this guy wasn't necessarily worth it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's. I'll tell you what. Let's just stick in sequence here. Or I'm going to lose my place here. So, number 6 was The Gauchos of Buenos Aires.
Yep.
Buenos
Osick.
Aires. Mm-hmm.
Our good friend Osick.
Mitch Wilson.
So, Mitch Wilson. Let's see what he looks like in game. All right, let me find him. Mitch Wilson. Okay. Mitch Demo Wilson. So he played for San Diego. He's 20 years old, so one of the younger college guys. 60, 55, 55. His movement's already 50, which is really good.
It is. Uh-huh.
He's got 4 pitches. The changeup's not going anywhere, but he's got a pretty good fastball. He throws 95, 97. Cutter that should also be pretty good in a forkball. And those 3 pitches actually can get up to 65. So his stuff is actually better than 60 if he never throws his changeup, which I don't know how OTP models that, but hopefully for Osick's sake, he doesn't really ever throw that changeup other than as a change of pace pitch because it's not going to, at 25, 25, it's not going to do him much good, but the other 3 pitches are actually really good. So he's kind of like a sleeping,
We had a bit of a discussion about this sometime recently on the boards, and I went and did some Googling around the OTP forums, and somewhere I came across a comment that if a pitcher has a pitch, he'll use it. He uses all his pitches. But I kind of have a little bit of a theory that the higher his intelligence is, the less he uses his bad pitches.
Okay.
Or he knows, when to place the bad pitches, right? So I think my pet theory is if the intelligence is high, the bad pitch is not going to be a problem, and this guy's intelligence is high. We were talking recently about intelligence and learning. I think Doe was talking about learning positions with intelligence. I think that intelligence is a big asset for a pitcher. That's just, again, that's anecdotal, but that's kind of my working hypothesis.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that.
So, do you like this? Do you like this pick in the 1-6 spot?
Yeah, it's not bad. I think he's pretty good. I think there's, I'm trying to look at the other pitchers because there's a lot taken. I mean, everyone missed on the guy Doe picked, but we'll get to that later. I think it's a pretty solid pick because of the fact that the 3 pitches he has that are actually good are really good. Mike's guy might be a little bit better because he's a lefty.
Okay.
And he's got a better ground ball, better stamina. So, I mean, it's such a small difference, though, that I think it's ultimately down to how they develop,
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the 1-7 and Justin Hinchcliffe.
All right.
The Berlin pick. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, obviously, going back to the old the Key West trade, this guy is obviously plus Francis Joseph. So that already makes him a little bit valuable. He's from Jacksonville, teammate of the guy Gusta picked.
Oh yeah,
shortstop.
Cool.
So
good pickup. I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what an awesome rotation they had, right?
So he's got 60 stuff, 60 movement, only 50 control, which is a little bit concerning. I think his stats are actually better on the draft website, but his pitches are really good. He's got 50, 65 fastball, 55 curve, and 70 changeup with 65 stamina. I think his ground ball is like 60% on the website, and he throws pretty hard too. And I mean, he had a pretty good season, 11 games, 231, 107 whip, really nice K per 9.
High intelligence, high work ethic, high loyalty.
The BABIP is a little low, which sometimes makes it difficult to determine how good those stats are. But I mean, I don't know. He's a lefty too. Like, I think it's a pretty good pick for Mike. I think he got 2 really good pitchers between the trade and he got Funk at the number 2. So I think this is a really good draft for Mike.
Draft for Berlin, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, and like again, there's other pitchers that maybe would have worked better. Like, but I guess ultimately it comes down to what your system is, and if he needs a lefty, then I think this is probably the best lefty in the draft pool, which in itself is actually really valuable.
That is very valuable.
Pretty much everyone else is a righty.
That's right. That is very valuable. And I think it creates a left-handed starting pitcher is not as rare as a good hitting, good fielding shortstop in our league, but definitely has a little bit of has some premium over a right-handed starting pitcher for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked in detail to see, the top 10 pitchers, what their handedness is or anything like that. But I think in general, that's how it usually plays out. Like, I think my staff is all righties. Or no, it's all righties except for Hercules. So, I mean, and all my prospects are righties. So, you only have one lefty. It just makes it so easy for a team to hit against you, especially in even in the playoffs. Like, I think a lot of teams, if I played against them in the playoffs, their lefties would just go off because we have really no way to stop them.
Just load up against the right-handed pitching, load up with left-handers in the lineup.
Yeah.
So, well, that leads us to Istanbul in the 1-8 pick and first base Brett Johnson. So, tell us about this pick.
So, I said I was gonna, trash on everyone for this pick because I don't know how they let him through. It's not obviously. I don't think he's that good, but I think. I was surprised that this guy was still available. He's got his nickname's Nutball, which already, I mean, that should have made him even higher. But so his intangibles are pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good. He's 18 years old. He's a lefty. He's got 60 contact, 60 gap, 60 power, 50 in eye, and then a 70 in avoid Ks. As far as fielding, similar to Real's pick, he's like a decent first baseman. Probably won't eclipse 50, maybe 55. But his outfield rating is actually pretty good. He's got 65 arm, 50 range, and 50 errors. Wow. And he's a 45 in right field right now. I think he could get a little bit better. Yeah. Maybe at 55 range. I mean, I already have Aguilar on my team, so I don't need a first baseman, especially one that, isn't an 80 in defense or whatever. So, I mean, I think his potential screams like one of the better bats, along with Real's guy, one of the better bats in the league, because you don't see 60, 60, 65, et cetera, every day.
Right.
So, I mean, I think, for that, that's really good. He hit 181 OPS plus in the feeder league, high school. 10 homers, 9 doubles. Good walk to strikeout rate.
Great walk to strikeout rate. Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's a really good pick. Like I said, I was kind of surprised that it was like so many pitchers ahead of him.
Right.
But at the same time, first basemen are easy to find. I don't think there was anyone like that picked after me that was better. So I'm happy with that. I think ultimately, that's kind of how I build teams that we were talking about in the last video. Like,
so
I'd rather
you think,
have the power guy with the huge bat. If I can fit him in at 55 left field or 55 right field, then I'll go for it. And I think he would end up around that for the corner spots.
Was he best player available?
I think so.
Yeah.
Him or Doe's guy, I think.
Do you normally draft BPA?
Well, I mean, I've had the number one pick so much. Yeah, technically. But but
I guess that's a dumb question.
But in general, it depends. Usually my farm system's not like you can never have too many starting pitching prospects. You can never have too many good bats. So I think best prospect available is generally the way to go, unless I mean, if you already have like 3 good middle infield prospects or middle infielders on your team, and I mean, even then, pick them up so you can trade them. Or I don't think there's any player. I don't think there's any reason to take a lesser player at a different position just because there's a vacuum there, especially because of the way baseball is. Either higher up prospects will fail out or you'll trade them or whatever. I mean, I've picked like Imarica on my team. I picked him up 1-8, I think, like 4 drafts ago when I already had Rojas in my system who was was and is one of the best catchers in the league. So
Yeah.
I think I go for, not necessarily depth, but best player available.
I agree with you. In the last draft, I think it was the last. It might have been the 2043 draft, but I drafted early in the draft, early in the first round. The best available shortstop was taken, and I scoured the draft, and I found the guy who I thought was the second best shortstop, and I took him ahead of a bunch of much better players because dadgummit, I needed a shortstop.
Yeah.
And I got him in my system, and he's terrible, man. I'm so close to just releasing him outright, and he was my first round pick. So yeah, I think I'm slowly becoming a believer in best player available for sure.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like if you really do have such a big surplus at a particular position, then I'd say okay, pick where you need to, but I wouldn't reach for a shortstop or like anything like that if they're not as good, plain and simple. I mean, a bat like this, you can really just kind of play him anywhere, I think, or like in the corner or the first base or DH. I mean, like let me see what Aguilar's stats are, because yeah, I mean Aguilar is not even that much better than this kid. Like he's got 65 contact, 65, and then 75 power, but this kid's actually better at avoiding Ks, So, I mean, if this guy puts up similar numbers to Aguilar, I've got a, 100 OPS plus, 120, 110 OPS plus hitter. Anyways, to say nothing of if he can actually play corner outfield defense, I don't know. But if he can, then that makes him even more valuable.
And it gives you an option down the road. You can, if this guy's coming up, you can trade Aguilar and crack open some of that value.
Yep.
So, okay, well, let's move down to the 1-9 pick and Dublin Distillers' pick of center fielder Jack Jones.
All right, Radford. That sounds like a Jack Jones. Is that a famous Irish guy?
Jack Jones.
Some famous Irish beer or something. It sounds made for Ireland.
I keep thinking of Jack Johnson, the musician.
I don't know, but so Jack Jones. Center fielder, listed as a center fielder. I don't think he is a center fielder. His defensive stats are not great. But so I mean, I think you're already looking at this guy as like a corner guy. I mean, his speed's pretty good, but he's got poor errors, poor arm.
He doesn't have the range that you would really want in a center fielder.
Right. I mean, compare him to even compare him to the next guy that got picked. That guy has. That guy can be a 75 in center fielder, and he's listed at right fielder. So, I mean, the bat's okay, but there might be better bats at right field or like at the corner outfield spots. I mean, his speed's good, contact is above average, power and avoid Ks are right at 55 as well. But I don't know. I mean, he's cheap. He did pretty well in a great competition league, so. I mean, it's a value pick. I think, like I said, I don't really know Rad's system. It's not the worst pick. I think Amsterdam's pick after this is a little bit better, just because he can play center field too, and this guy might end up being a right fielder. But
so Jones was actually in the draft last year, and he signed he was the 2-3 pick, the 19th overall by Australia, but he failed to sign with Australia, and I can see why, because his demand this year is $4.8 million, and that'll put a cramp in your draft budget right away. Yeah,
I mean, 2-3 sounds like he maybe improved a little bit, but also this draft has more picks in the end of the round, but I mean I would think he's more of like a late first round pick. Okay. I think Rad might have missed the boat on this one, unfortunately.
Fair enough. WBLTradeRumors.com.
Yeah. But, I mean, who knows? He's got very high intelligence. He's a lefty, so he definitely has some upside.
Sure. Okay, well, that's Jack Jones. That's the 1-9 pick. So you mentioned the Tulips 110 pick and Willie Wilder.
Yeah, I mean, OU is one of the best at evaluating talent in the league, and I think he kind of showed that again here. Let me see if I can find him in the game.
I'm not seeing him. Oh yeah, Game's hating on him. I always say he's hating on this guy. He's a left-handed corner outfielder. Superb ratings in Right field. Good word.
Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, his defense is actually really good. I mean, I think this guy's actually a center fielder. I mean, at worst, he's a 55, 60.
Yep.
So, I know OU he really doesn't care about playing guys at specific positions as long as he gets, offense and defense out of them,
right.
Which is what we were talking about yesterday. But, this guy would be an amazing defensive right fielder. Really good at left field already. I think he'd be pretty good in center field, but OU would say there's no way I'm playing him there because, he wants an 80 in center field, which, whatever. That's how OU runs his team, and, can't really argue with that, with the success. But
yeah, the one thing that Wilder doesn't have that Jack Jones does have is elite speed, stealing, and base running. We know Red Pants likes to run.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a fair point. That also might hinder his ability in center field. So he might guy might end up just being a corner outfielder, a really good defensive one. 55 contact, 55 power, a little bit below average on home run power and disciplines, but good avoid Ks. I think OU is the one who said he likes contact and avoid Ks the most. Maybe it was someone else, but so this pick seems right up his alley. He was really good in college at Indianapolis in the feeder league.
Hitting 322.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think it's a good pick. He's a lefty.
I think OSA, so much of OSA's rating derives from speed. Speed, stealing, and base running. If you've got a guy with very high speed, stealing, and base running, even if the guy can't hit a lick, OSA is going to give him a couple of stars. And I've seen that a few times, and it kind of makes me wonder, for a sim that doesn't seem to value or utilize speed very well, it seems to really overrate speed.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
So this guy's a left-hander. The last both of these two guys, Jack Jones and Willie Wilder, are both left-handed corner outfielders, if not center fielders. If not decent center fielders. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're both kind of. Like, Wilder might be badly listed as a right fielder, and Jones might be badly listed as a center fielder. So I think they're kind of both straddling the line. And, outfield isn't really a big deal because you get 3 slots, and, you can kind of play them as needed. So
our next 3 picks were starting pitchers. And with the 111 pick, Kabul took Michael Conley.
Yeah, so let me see if I can find him. I think Wolfman actually already wrote up about this pick, so I'm gonna pull up his thread too and see what he thinks.
Okay.
Just so we can see.
We'll talk about Conley for a minute or two, and then we'll put another break in.
Yeah. So he said, very happy to get this young man at the 11th, .81 whip in his season in college, 60-plus potential in all 3 pitches, was a no-brainer pick for me at number 11. So let's see. So actually, his cutter is better than 60. Good stuff, good movement, good control. Pretty good intangibles. He's got Buckeye nickname, so not unlike the Ohio State basketball player.
Right.
He's from El Paso College. Average stamina, pretty good velocity. So yeah, I definitely agree. His college numbers are really good. 1.6 walks per 9 is pretty solid. His BABIP is really low. That's the only thing I would say. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like this bombshell pick based off his whip because the BABIP is so low. It's kind of hard to say whether it's like this amazing pick. But the only thing stopping him is his current ratings are pretty low, especially on his actual pitches. Like a circle change, only 30 out of 60.
Right.
His intangibles are pretty good, so it's not a huge risk, but you never know.
Looks like he has relied totally on his cutter in college, and he's got his movement. I would assume that a 50 movement in college is dominating, and 0.7 home runs per 9 inning.
Yeah. So again, I don't really know how well the game simulates that kind of thing. If it's because I know that's kind of how it is in real life. If you have 1 or 2 good pitches, you will be pretty much top of your class. So, I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but I think overall it is a pretty good pick. I would agree it's pretty good value at number 11.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Doe's Guy is better, and I'll keep saying that until we get to Doe's Guy. But
all right, well,
I think it's a pretty good pick.
Good deal. All right, well, let's put a cut here after the 111 pick, and we'll be right back.
Alrighty.